Oh, that's so cute. After her third normal attack, she does a little bow. Hi, Moglets. Today we're going to be raising Mizuki and checking her out, doing a little talent overview, etc., etc. Being a character from Inazuma, I imagine we probably have most of the stuff we need. Oh yeah, these as well, okay. We at least do have a head start, but we might need multiple worlds for all of these. Let's see. Definitely good on the samurai drops. Definitely good on talent books as well. It's just the plants and boss materials, so let's get started. With the plants, actually, we need about 100. I doubt there are 100, but who knows? Maybe these are an exception. I don't farm them very often. Bro, who was the Inazuma hand map? Ah, Goro is one. And beep. Stop, please. Beep. Is this the last one? No. Feels like we've gotten a lot already. They are basically on every island. Okay. Beep. We might not need another world. There are so many. Beep. This one is so far away. Beep. This has got to be it, right? Beep. What? Okay, we're gonna actually check. 136, it's still not enough though. Well then please give us a few more circles. Beep. Okay, we must have enough by now. 156, I think we're actually good. There's the 4th star anyway, level 70. Yeah, it's 45 and 60, right? So we have one more than enough. Wow, a lot of these exist. But okay, last thing to do is spam some bosses here. Oh, this one? For real? In Natlan? Okay, kind of funny. Oh! Didn't they just raise the artifact inventory limit? What am I doing, man? Let's take a short break from killing bosses and get that second to last star there. Yep, all good, just need 4 more boss runs. And there we go, final star and level 90. Now, let's learn how she works with a good old talent and constellation overview. Basic attack is basic. She's a catalyst user, so it is animo, but not much else to say. As usual, the animation is quite nice though. And as I noticed in the intro, the little bow after the 3rd normal attack is very nice. Mizuki's elemental skill is the core of her kit. She'll start floating about, and while in combat, will fire off animo attacks while buffing swirl damage based on her elemental mastery. One thing not mentioned in the talent page is that she'll gain 0.6 poise damage multiplier, which basically boils down to a small amount of resistance to interruption while she's floating about. This floating state lasts for 5 seconds by default, but easily gets extended to 10 seconds while in combat, and the state will end if she swaps off. So, in a nutshell, she is an on-field swirl DPS. Both of her passives and most of her constellations buff this in some way or another, but we'll get to that later. Her skill isn't bad for exploration, but since you're mostly out of combat, it only lasts 5 seconds with a 15-second cooldown, so not great either. On ground, it is a bit faster than normal sprinting while using less stamina. And of course, you can also basically fly with it, so can cross some canyons, etc. Moving on to Burst, it's an AoE attack that summons an item every 2 seconds during its 12-second duration. These items, when collected, heal characters that are under 70% HP. If above 70% HP, or if not collected within a few seconds, they will explode and deal animo damage to any enemies in the area. If the item heals Mizuki herself, the healing is doubled. At talent level 8 with 1000 EM, she heals about 2600 per item, and a little over 5000 if she picks it up herself. Her first passive, like mentioned earlier, extends Dream Drifter state to 10 seconds. She has to trigger Swirl at least twice, which shouldn't be a problem in any team. Her second passive provides 100 elemental mastery while in the Dream Drifter state. Again, the requirement here will happen pretty much automatically. Finally, her utility passive buffs recovery food, sometimes. It's a chance-based thing based on the friendship level of the character you're feeding. When it activates, it's 30% extra healing, and you have a 55% chance for it to activate at friendship level 1, and that goes all the way up to guaranteed 100% at friendship level 10. I didn't get any constellations for her, so I can't really check anything, so take any opinions here with a grain of salt. C1 is already a little confusing to me, to be honest, but basically, while you're in the floating state, every 3.5 seconds, she will apply a debuff to surrounding enemies for 3 seconds. If an enemy is hit with a swirl, that swirl's damage will be increased by 1100% of her elemental mastery, which sounds big, but once it happens, the effect goes away. So you can only get this 1100% every 3.5 seconds at max, I guess, or like 3 times per E. It probably does do a bit more damage, but I can't even compare, so I don't know. And it sounds like an additive damage bonus increase, which are usually very powerful, but I feel like in this case, because there's not a ton you can do to increase Swirl's damage as opposed to a usual attack, I feel like it wouldn't be that insane, especially because it essentially has a 3.5 second cooldown. But yeah, it does not sound that good to me, just, you know, reading this. C2 is pretty straightforward. The 4 main elements have their damage increased by 0.04 of her EM while in Dream Drifter state. And this is going to be pretty much all the damage anyway. When I first read this, I thought she could go off field while still staying in Dream Drifter state and it'd be just like a Kazuha buff. That's not the case, though it would still be a nice buff for like, you know, mostly off-field units like Shanling or Farina. C3, talents for skill makes sense. C4 is the only one that actually buffs her burst. The snacks that her bursts spawn will heal you and explode regardless of HP, thresholds, whatever, so that's just gone now. She can also get up to 20 energy herself, which is pretty nice. C5 is burst levels, of course. And then finally, C6 allows swirls to critical with a crit rate of 30% and crit damage of 100%. I do wonder though, if the C1 additive damage buff also gets buffed from C6 and the ability to critical. I'm not a theory crafter and know enough to actually confidently say that, but just a thought, because typically additive damage buffs become more powerful when you can buff them in other ways. And even though the numbers are fixed, the additive damage still comes before. So it might just be as straightforward as saying 30% damage increase on average because 30 crit rate, 100 crit damage, which is still pretty big for a constellation. Who knows? Maybe it could be a little more because of C1 also. I'd say it doesn't really matter though, because you can't get C6 without getting C1. I'm personally leaving her at C0. I would recommend most people do the same. Unless you really like her, then C2 is a good stopping point. Would not bother stopping at C. Well, I don't know. I can't really say, I can't test this myself, but it doesn't sound that good to me. So let's finish this up by raising her talents. I do believe skill is going to be the most important, but I don't think you should sleep on burst either. I'd say mostly if you care about her healing potential, because she does heal more when you raise this. But yeah, this buffs the most important damage, the swirl damage, based on EM there. So I think we're going to try and get this to 8. Yeah, there we go. And I think we're just going to go ahead and get her burst to 8 as well. If I was, struggling on resources, I would probably leave this at 6 or something, but I think 8 is pretty good. We have so much, Inazuma material anyway. So in terms of weapon, we're not going to give her signature. We'll save that for God mode. Actually, one of her best ones is going to be forgeable. Yes, this Hakushin ring here. You will need an Electro in your team, but being a Swirl DPS, I think Electros are going to, be pretty good for her anyway. My theory crafter friend Ditsik talks highly about it often, and I just thought about it and was like, actually should be pretty good for her. We're gonna go ahead and grab 5 of them, R5 it. Because it's forgeable, I think that's fair. Maybe not everyone has, 10 catalyst books lying around, but you will get them eventually. Let's go ahead and enhance it. It doesn't have EM here, but first of all, she does need energy recharge as well. I'm pretty confident in saying that is her second most important stat. In fact, besides EM and energy recharge, I don't think she needs anything. So for this video, at least, we will force an Electro into our team, however it works. Let's not get too ahead of ourselves. Let's finish maxing this weapon first. And there we go. It does have a lot of base attack, which, doesn't really matter, but let's go ahead and auto add the 4 we crafted. I mean, yeah, it's a 20% elemental damage bonus. It's definitely something we're gonna have to look at a little closer, but it shouldn't be too hard to see because elemental damage bonuses usually are reflected in the stat page here. So, I mean, of course, if you really don't want to craft the ring, I think there are some other good ones, just like Codex, typical support energy stuff. Sacrificial Fragments just has a lot of element mastery, so that'll help her personal damage. I don't think the passive is going to be that useful for her, but basically most things with an EM main stat here, or if the passive is going to be very useful for the team, like in the case with Hakushin Ring or Favonius Codex, energy recharge is also going to be good. For artifacts, absolutely, we are going Viridescent, though not a crit damage circlet. I think I do want to go triple EM, as it just kind of is with a lot of EM scalers. Sadly, I don't have that many good pieces, but for her, it honestly doesn't matter. You just want to get as much EM as possible. And then yeah, pretty much any off piece is fine. I guess we'll try and get one with a lot of energy recharge like this. Just steal that from Sucrose. So we are sitting at 780 element mastery, 155 energy recharge. Actually might be a little low if we want to try and burst every rotation. I mean, her burst is only going to be really important for its healing aspect. So if you're trying to like solo heal with her, especially with like Farina, then it probably would be more important to focus on energy recharge. We could sacrifice a little more elemental mastery for energy recharge if we deem it necessary by swapping around some substats, but I'd say let's just start with this and talk about teams. I'd say the main unfortunate thing with her is that she kind of does want off-field, but not ones that rely on normal attacks, which is unfortunately a good chunk of the good ones. Characters like Farina is an exception, very good character. Her pets attack by themselves. Shanling's Pyronado goes on its own, though I've heard typically for Shanling, you almost always want to run her with Benny, mostly because of the energy, but also, because she can snapshot, it works well. So I'm not sure I'm doing Shanling today. Honestly, after looking through the characters, I don't see like a ton she'd be great with. We do need to slot an Electro in there. I do think Miko is going to be good. Official, and even I think Auroron these days are good, like off field, no requirement, normal charge attack, whatever. I do prefer to keep first showcases, free to play friendly, but I'm having a hard time. Like we probably could make a solid 4-star 4-star team, but I kind of want to try this to start. Basically just like electro charged. Furina and Miko do solid off-field damage. Auroron with his 4-piece Cinder, you know, nice little buff. Yeah, no, this isn't a free-to-play team by any means. I mean, we have him in R4 Elegy here, but it's just this kind of see what's going on. Like if she's not at least kind of impressive in this team, I'm not sure what hope there is. I know she gets a lot better with Constellations. I just don't think it's worth actually investing in Constellations since, you know, standard banner again. I think for her, we are actually gonna start with Masanori for the showcase. We'll probably try at least one other team. Typically raising modes are more just to learn about the character and not necessarily, you know, showcase them. But so no Furina buff currently going, but actually, damn, look at that. I've done a lot of runs on Masanori and that like wasn't horrible. We didn't even have Furina's burst either. And also let's check out that healing. I said some stuff during the talent overview, but I was just kind of guessing. Okay, yeah, I mean, I think that was about right. So she herself gets about 4,400 because it's Mizuki and she gets double. And then the not Mizuki gets half, 2,200. She does spawn the snacks pretty fast. I don't know if it's enough healing solo for Furina, but definitely better than nothing. I'm not sure if Hakushin is currently procced. We'll wait a couple seconds here. But yeah, I mean, Masanori is kind of getting melted. I don't know, I feel like that should be considered electro. She has the animo damage bonus. Let's go to Furina. She doesn't have that. She just has a goblet. Does Auroron have it at least? 66.6? But yeah, I guess right now we're not getting any hydro swirls. We'll try and take a peek later, but yeah, Masanori gets absolutely shredded. So we're going to upgrade to good old Dorito Boss. I do understand Furina is gonna mostly be carrying, so we might try it again without her. We're not gonna bother with burst here. Can we like see what she's doing with those swirls? I don't really see much. Maybe some like 10 or 11 Ks. Furina couldn't carry. I mean, like almost. It was still pretty good though. I guess take Furina out. I mean, obviously we're gonna try and have supports that deal good off-field damage, but we're gonna try Nahida. And Nahida's big EM boost for Mizuki I think would help as well. I'm just not sure Cinder City actually matters anymore. All right, let's see what's going on here. I guess we'll go ahead and do her burst as well. Although maybe I shouldn't have. We gotta place those down again. I don't know how to use her at all. Oh no, I double tapped E, so she immediately went out of the mode. To start off, we're just actually gonna not do Miko's burst anyway, so we're just going to press that and I guess everything starts now, sort of. What buffs do we have? I mean, we have a lot of EM, 1,345. Anyway, no, Cinder City doesn't work here, I just realized, because he's the only one that can do Night Soul attacks, and there's no electro charge happening, so yeah, I don't think that's good. Me and my confusion with Cinder City will never end. Let's just take Auroron out, I guess, for now. It probably works in some way or another, but I don't got the headspace for this right now. Let me get good old Fischl. I mean, we are getting some like spread and aggravates in there. We didn't do pretty much anyone's burst because we didn't have the energy. This was basically just an energy accumulating round, but look at that. Actually almost dead after she comes back down. I understand we are only doing single target stuff and a swirl in general is AoE damage. This is basically worst case scenario, but I also think it's fair because at the end of the day, most hardest stuff is single target. We do have Nahida's burst going now. Didn't really do anyone else's, but maybe we go back to Miko, you know, and do a burst. Once basically that's gone. Still wasn't quite enough. Let's try rearranging the team a little bit. Let's have actually Nahida in the middle of Fischl and Miko. Maybe we do like 2 mini rotations. So we do that. Go ahead and do our burst. Get a couple of those karmic oblivions in there or whatever. Fischl, and then we like go back to Miko to do burst, for example. Plant those 3 back down. You know, refresh that a little bit, and then we go to then we go to her, and when we just kill the boss with the first 3 and then go to her, it actually works pretty well. AoE stuff. I literally wouldn't even know where to find AoE stuff. I guess like the first part of Abyss has 3 enemies. We will see what's going on there. I know Furina is going to be great. Mawika as well with her like off-field E stuff would be great. I just don't want them to carry. You know what I mean? It's like I'm trying to showcase her. Whether I'm doing a good job at that or not is a different story. We're gonna more or less try the same thing we were trying on the Dorito Boss, I guess, before the little meme run. But I don't know, maybe that is actually like the strategy. We're not gonna like bother with bursts and stuff right now. We're just gonna be like running around. Okay, we did get hit by something. These guys are definitely a little tankier, and we basically killed them So not horrible. I don't think there's much we can do against this lady. I guess Electro does do something, and because it's kind of AoE as well, maybe it kind of works-ish. But even once that happens, then yeah, we're just kind of back to single target. And we'll try and see a little bit what's going on with that. Like, I mean, she is buffing the off-field damage as well because of Iridescent, and you know, if she were to be at C2, she'd buff it more. She does do some healing. Wish they spawned a little bit further away from the boss, but you know, it's fine. I don't like the fact you have to go collect the healing if you want the healing. I think while you're playing with Mizuki, that's fine because there's nothing else to do anyway. Yeah, well, clones are back. I don't think this is particularly the best place to show off anything anyway. But yeah, I suppose that will do it for raising mode. I don't think she's like particularly a bad character. Obviously, compared to a lot of the other 5-star recently, and even a lot of the older 5-stars, I don't think her personal damage output outside of AoE is that great. So if you consider her as an on-field swirl DPS first and foremost, it's just kind of eh. I mean, again, at least at C0, maybe her signature helps a bit. I mean, I'm sure it would, at least with her personal damage. It has a ton of EM. I guess it's always worth remembering she is a standard banner unit, so they're just apparently inherently not as good as exclusive heroes. If AoE content was more prevalent in the game, at least like in the harder content of the game, I would go out of my way to, you know, look for some better examples, but there just isn't a lot of like meaningful AoE content to actually take advantage of AoE damage dealers. If you consider her more of just a buffer for your off-field damage dealers, then I think she becomes more interesting. I mean, she does still have to be on field, but as long as you have very specific units dealing, you know, all the damage off field, then I guess she becomes a much better support for those. Like Farina and Mawika, I guess. I don't know if I would use Mawika specifically as an off-field damage dealer at C2 and stuff, you know, feels like it'd be kind of a waste. But as always though, we will have at least one more showcase with Mizuki, putting no self-imposed restrictions on teammates and all that. So, you know, maybe we can see something different there. Until then though, let me know what you think about her in the comments down below. Dropping a like or subscribing to the channel if you enjoyed is always greatly appreciated as well. Thanks, as always, for watching, and until next time.